Battleline Podcast. Really excited to have Dave Bray on today. I don't know if Dave remembers me. He, of course, knows you. It's been a
Okay.
while since I've seen the guy. I'll see if he does, or if he just bullshits me and says that he does.
Yeah,
But
he'll be honest. He'll be honest with you. He ain't gonna. He don't care if he hurts your feelings, man. He
yeah,
doesn't remember you or not.
so it'll be good having him on. I had some issues earlier in the week, which we'll get into. But before we do, of course, you heard Hank Strange on the last episode talk about Fort Scott munitions, and Hank could not speak more highly of them, and same with us, of course. Fort Scott is a manufacturer of multi-federal patented solid copper and brass CNC spun ammunition. It's designed to tumble upon impact in soft tissue, leaving devastating wound channels for faster bleed out and quicker incapacitation. This ammunition was originally developed to innovate and improve on the standard of military grade ammunition design. It was found that not only did the TUI ammunition outperform competitors in the self defense industry, but it quickly became apparent that it would be a top contender for hunters alike. With the ammunition being CNC spun, the tolerances are some of the tightest on the market, ensuring that you receive the same results with each pull of the trigger. And as you heard Hank on the last episode say, I mean, the fact that they sponsor content creators, give ammo to a guy like Hank who's putting so much time and effort into making all these videos, like they're a great company. Show them some love.
Yeah. Get out there and you can tell I'm stretching right now. Sorry about that, Kraft family and Robbie. I'm just trying to stretch. We're recording. Can I say what day we're recording, or we're gonna mess it
Yeah,
up?
yeah, it'll be out.
Yeah,
It'll be out tomorrow this
yeah,
time.
we're recording on Sunday, so Sunday's my just chillax day. But yeah, for Scott, we got a range actually coming up here, a training course in Chicago, out South Chicago, in Crete, Illinois, at the compound with Devad Defense and Daniel Lombard. And no, well, Fort Scott Ammunition running out there with our handguns and doing some pistol work. So yeah, you can't speak highly enough about the family, the work product, and then all the workers that are there, all the employees that are there. They all just it really is just one big family when you walk in the store. So yeah, I'll reiterate what Hank said. They're tremendous company, tremendous people, and they look out for the little guy.
Yeah.
And but yeah, they're gonna be. I don't know how much more they're going to be the little guy anymore, because they're huge now. They can still, but they still realize where their roots came from, and they don't get arrogant and pompous, and like some of the gun community out there, especially a lot of the pistol companies, real pretentious. But we can do that. We can talk about that on another episode. We'll just stick with Fort Scott. Tremendous company, fantastic.
Yeah, and you know what? They're ahead of the curve, man. I don't know if you got a chance to listen to the episode with Hank, but one thing he said that's true is a lot of these companies right now, the only advertising they do is in magazines. And as Hank said, Hank's like, not to speak poorly because he loves those magazines, but he said, I don't know the last time I made a decision of like what to purchase through a magazine. And they know that it's podcasters, YouTubers like Hank. They know that's where people are hearing about stuff now.
Well, I talked to Ryan, and maybe we're giving out the trade secrets, but Hank's right. I don't even read the gun magazines. A lot of the gun magazines, it's just, I mean, you have people making fun of some of the other magazines out there, like Men's Health or People, and it's no different with the recoils and the ballistics and so forth. They just cater to the gun community, and Hank's exactly right. I don't buy stuff whatsoever in those magazines, and never have. Generally, where you're going to get it from is from an email blast, and you have an email list. And you send out email ads, and Ryan Kraft and I actually had personal conversations about that. Ryan said, "Hey, guess what we're doing?" I'm like, "Yeah, I know, Ryan. Been doing that for about a year or so. That stuff actually works better than anything."
And
So
this, and
they do
this, don't
email
forget
ads.
this. This helps.
Oh, and the podcast. Well, definitely the podcast helps, because it gets it out there. So the other mediums that do work better, of course, are the emails, and then you getting on the podcast, and because you're talking to real people, and you're getting myself. You're not just getting an ad where some marketing person put it on a piece of paper, or some marketing person gave you, here, read this. This is what we want you to read on air. You're talking to me and Ian, and we're telling you how it is, because we use it, and I use this stuff. Well, you can't use it. Don't
I
be
kind
using
of did
this
it.
stuff.
Well, like I said, I mean, I am a gun owner, but
But
yeah, no,
what
I can't do as much as you.
as much as, but me, I'm using it in all my courses. It's my home defense ammo. It's what I teach with, what I train with,
When I go to
and
Pennsylvania, I can.
yeah,
When I go to PA.
we'll get that worked in, and then we'll do another good stuff on a good shot on them. But Yeah, Hank's right. I guess I just never looked at it that way because I don't read gun magazines. But he's right on because I don't read gun magazines. I'm never going to see an ad. So, and where I'm gonna hear about stuff is luckily for me, where I'm gonna hear about stuff now is just people approaching me and say, hey, what do you think about this? And I'll go give it a try. And that's kind of how I got in with Fort Scott. And here we are.
Awesome, man. Well, Fort Scott Munitions is available throughout privately owned businesses in all 50 states, as well as directly online through fortscottmunitions.com, FortScottmunitions.com. Use the exclusive promo code BattleLine for 15% off your order. One word, only available to listeners of the Battleline Podcast. Once again, promo code BattleLine, FortScottmunitions.com. Fort Scott Munitions is a proud supporter of Chris Peranto, Battleline Tactical, and the Battleline Podcast. Let's hit the music from Jinx and get right into this.
On the microphones, pure and uncensored American straight talk. Never quit. You're locked and loaded with Chris Peranto and Ian Scotto. This is the Battleline Podcast.
Switch is on. Motherfucker, I'm going to shoot you in the face.
The switch is on. Could you believe we're on episode 30?
I didn't know we were on 30. I thought we were on 5 or 6. Who knows? No, I don't ever pay attention. That's why I'll never know until you tell me on the episode. And
30 episodes, bro.
Do we get anything special for that? Is it like a 30 anniversary? It seems like there's days for everything now. There's Happy Tissue Day today. There's celebrate the tree leaves today, tomorrow. Everything has a day. So can we make today's the 30th day of every podcast day that we're going to celebrate. Right?
There is an international podcast day.
Is there international? Yeah, for Christ's sake, there's days for every.
Hey, I'm happy. It's free promotion, bro.
Hey, that's you take it, man. Take it. I just roll my eyes and go. I do. My favorite was a GIF is the Robert Downey Jr. rolling his eyes from the event when I think it was during the ticket from the first Avengers movie, where he just goes and rolls his eyes. That's me basically every time I see a commercial about what day it is today for something different. It's Happy Taco Hot Sauce Jalapeno Day with shredded cheese today. That's what it is.
I'll take any of it if it's free promotion for us. I'm cool with it, and I like to do an international podcast day. There's more and more people listening to shows.
Yeah, it is.
So what I was going to tell you guys to kind of roll back the curtain a little bit, I recorded a whole episode with Josh Jesperson, Navy SEAL, record holder in skiing, and my internet connection was horrendous. I have finally gotten this figured out, and I apparently sound good. Not cutting out at all, right?
No, you're good. It's just another aftershock or after effect of the hibbity-bibbity virus ruining things, since we can't use the studio right now in New York.
Exactly, but at least I'll be able to do this, and it sounds good. So anyway, Josh is going to come on again in June. We had a good conversation, but I just listened back, and I was like, this is honestly unfucking listenable. I can't listen to me cutting out every 2 seconds. So, we'll record with him another time. Friend of the guys at Ned. Probably one of the good parts of the conversation we had, and maybe we'll get into with you next time, is that really Josh's whole philosophy of what he's doing is getting guys in the veteran community away from taking, prescription drugs they don't need to be on, and instead taking them out skiing, snowboarding, and really, that being therapy for them.
Well, and that's important, and that's what we try to say, and that's what I try to tell people as well. With the especially when Ned joined on and I started using the CBD oil, was that and I was always active anyway, but it did help even getting more active. And therapy being exercise, therapy being outside. And it is me as a runner. I'm still a heavy runner, and that means I run it damn near every day, even though my joints. Well, I'm been healthy. I've stayed healthy. But my joints feel it a little bit more than they used to. But it's spiritual, man. You're getting out there and running, and you're clearing your head. And it's not about how many miles I can put in a week. It's just going out and running, and just feeling nature and feeling the air, and looking at things and think. And your brain starts to think. I think the best when I'm running. When do I usually call you when we want to talk about things? It's when I'm jogging.
and you're like out of breath. It's so funny, man. You're the only person I know who calls me like that.
But that's what I think the best. And I think that's because veterans and people, definitely those that have been overseas or been through traumatic events, their brains are always cluttered. Mine's always cluttered. It's always going different directions. And when you're doing something like Josh does with the skiing, or being out in the outdoors, but you're staying active, or you're doing something like me where I go run outdoors. I don't like running on a treadmill. I'll just bundle up and go run outdoors. It focuses your brain. I don't know, maybe it's the endorphins. I don't know what to tell you what it is, but it just focuses things going on, and it helps you clear your head, because you can focus your thoughts and put them in order. So it's kind of like having a messy room, and then all of a sudden you're able to put stuff away in the drawers that you needed to put it away in, so you can think clear. And then it's a good feeling when you're done, because those endorphins definitely give you that, what we call that runner's high, or the exercise high. You feel that, you feel better. And when I'm done, I tell you, when I'm grouchy in the morning and I go for a run right after I get back, I feel a heck of a lot better. And I'm sure Josh can tell you the same thing with skin. Yeah, no, and you're the same way. You're an avid runner, so
I'm becoming one again. I fell off for a while, but like the other day, man, I had a bunch of work to do, and after I went for the run, I felt way better and way more focused. Got everything I needed to get done. Yeah, I co-sign everything he said. One thing I said with him, and maybe we'll get into it when we have him on next time, is, when he was talking about the pharmaceutical issue, the prescription drug issue. And I don't think enough people are talking about this. Whenever we talk about like politics and lobbyists, the Democrats will always say, but the Democrats will always say, oh, the Republicans are in the pocket of the NRA. Republicans will say Democrats are in the pocket of big union, big labor. Yeah. But you know what? They're both. Democrats, Republicans, all of them are receiving money from pharmaceutical companies, and that's why they won't take them on.
It's unbelievable how much they donate to both their causes, and again, it's unbelievable. Still, now it is believable. People are realizing money's what talks. Sides be damned. What the money drives the train, and that's the problem with pharmaceutical companies, especially getting into the veterans area as well. As a lot of those pharmaceutical companies are benefiting off veterans and their need for help, and that's the easy fix for them, and the money's going into the government, but in the end, it's not helping us veterans at all. That's why veterans, again, you got to take it upon yourself to find something different, some homeopathic remedy or exercise or something that you don't need to.
And I'll say, medication. I don't know if you're, because I'm a supplement guy, I know stuff. I wouldn't say homeopathic. I would say.
What would you say? Help me out.
I'll tell you, because I would say maybe just holistic. Anybody who's studied homeopathic medicine, I don't know what to say, because homeopathic medicine is like proven pseudoscience. Homeopathic medicine, it's not like Ned, it's not any of that. Homeopathic medicine is they start with an active ingredient and they dilute it so much that you're basically taking like sugar water. So like that guy, the Amazing Randy, who really was a brilliant guy. He would go to Congress and take like a whole bottle of homeopathic sleeping pills, and he would go, "Why is this not doing anything to me?" And he would explain it, because homeopathic medicine is it's honestly bullshit. Holistic medicine and natural medicine, 100%. I agree.
That's why you're here. That's why you're here to correct my vocabulary. No, that's right, because that on. If anybody that's listened to any of our shows, a lot of them know that I have no grasp on the English language at all. So
no, it's not even that. I hear people say homeopathic all the time, and I think what they usually mean is natural medicine.
And I think that's what I mean. So now I know, but I'll say homeopathic again. I won't say homeostasis because it's just me. But That's what I'm getting at. No, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. I'm not backpedaling. I'm saying I just don't know.
No, it's fine. And
vocabulary.
I'm not saying it to be a pain in the ass and
Oh,
correct and all that. It's one of those things I've heard a lot of people say, and I think there should be a distinction because there is, let's be honest, there's a lot of snake oil out there.
I know, I agree. No, I completely agree. So let me read it right. So let's back up. Don't take the homeopathic medicine. Tano meant to say homeostasis medicine. Take stuff that actually works, but is from natural ingredients, like Ned, like the CBD oil, the body butter. Oh my gosh, I still cannot believe how well that stuff works. And I know,
and
Ned,
even beyond that, I'll just say, I mean, no plug, but like the basic stuff, taking vitamin D, eating a good diet of, that includes plants, that includes vegetables, that includes some grains. Like, I mean, just doing your own research, different people's bodies respond differently to, different things.
Yeah.
But I think the main thing is, and like I said, we'll get into it in a future episode, but I don't take it lightly that the VA prescribes guys drugs that have, that literally have like suicide as a listed side effect.
And that's the funniest thing whenever I should take, and it's funny being not funny as haha, funny as what the fuck funny. It's that the side effects of antidepressant medication is possible depression. Why I never understood that shit at all. What's the side effect of you may experience for anxiety medication. Well, you may experience, or the opposite. You may experience lows. You may experience where you feel, you feel in the depths. Well, why am I battling one thing and giving it another problem? And then on the depression side here, you're battling depression. Well, the side effects may be anxiety, jitteriness, lack of sleep. Well, holy shit. Now I'm just throwing you up on the other spectrum. It's like you take one and you get the other. And you would think it's not planned that way. But you look back now, and I'm not, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. Neither are you. We don't. But when you look at that, you're like, what in the hell are they trying just to make me go back and forth? So I get hooked on one medication and then I get hooked on another. Then I can't get off of either. And that's how I used to look at it. That's why I just said, shit it. Nope, no more. And I just cold turkey and I threw it away. I was like, I'm not taking any of this shit anymore. I'll deal with the consequences as it goes. And I'll just try to figure out how I'm going to handle this stuff on my own. And I got through it, but it wasn't easy. And then of course just your lifestyle, like you just said, and that's really what you said, your lifestyle. I just changed my lifestyle into a more healthy lifestyle and finally started to even out. So really, I'm agreeing with you, man. The pharmaceutical companies, and especially within the VA and veterans, need to walk away from them, or at least scrutinize and do their due diligence a little bit better and say, just here, take my money. Here, we want your money. And we're going to give you more shit to put in your body to make it worse. Yeah. My 2 cents, man.
No, and you know what? There's probably some guys who really need it, but I do think there's no coincidence that this country takes the most drugs. We're the only country that they advertise on TV meds that you can get hooked on, and the whole idea actually is really crazy. Of ask your doctor about blah blah blah. So you're making a decision for yourself to get on a drug that might be terrible for you, and you don't even know.
I imagine that TV manipulating your decisions. Haven't seen that at all with the hibbity bibbity virus going on.
The whole thing is crazy. Yeah, the whole thing is crazy, man.
Well, you just turn your damn TV off, man. Get off your knees. Go figure it out. Everybody can handle it on their own. It's going to take a little bit of work. It hurts. It's hard, but you can deal with it and get over a lot of the stuff with just fixing your lifestyle, man. Just changing your lifestyle. If you're doing something wrong and you know what's wrong, stop doing it. If you're having an affair, stop it. If you're out there just being angry, starting fights and drinking all the time, guess what? Stop it. And you'll be shocked you'll be shocked how your body responds and how your mind is when you stop doing those things, and how you're like, you really feel like you're fixing your fucking self. As our Navy SEAL buddy said, fix your fucking self first, and then you won't have to do all these drugs. Then you don't have to self-medicate with alcohol and illegal substances as well. So
I think you said fix your fucking self. He said unfuck yourself.
I said fix my fucking self. He said unfuck. Yeah, damn Steel Rangers, same thing. Same thing. Tomato, tomato, potato, tomato, whatever.
But yeah, listen back to the Jim West episode if you haven't, because he's a guy who really turned his life around and is doing great things. With that, I do have an email sent to battlelinepodcast@gmail.com. Love getting these. So if you guys have any emails, questions for the show, send them over battlelinepodcast@gmail.com. This is from John. He says, I just got through the beginning, and he's talking about the Ted Nugent episode because he said the Ted Nugent in the subject line. Just got through the beginning, where Chris describes the Ranger and Medal of Honor recipient's success getting into the Ranger Battalion. I needed that reminder that failure is the best way to process. I'm so used to failing, I forget where that ends up in the end. Thank you for that.
Oh, that's cool of him to say. And Leroy, I would never call Leroy a failure at all. Leroy it took him a little bit harder, a little bit longer to accomplish things in the beginning because he wasn't. He just had a harder time picking things up, and it just like a lot of guys in basic training. I'm saying he was the worst guy at basic training. By far, he was not. But there were some natural abilities that maybe he lacked, and he made up for them with hard work and motivation and perseverance. And he kept picking himself up, and that's what you do. That's what you do for anything. You learn from the failure, pick up, and you get back on that horse, and you start riding again. If you've read The Ranger Way, that the second book I've written, I talk about me getting thrown out of the military the first time I was in. We don't realize, like, you were kicked out. Yeah, I was. Actually, I was very blessed due to my having a tremendous first sergeant, Frank Grippy, and a tremendous captain by the name of Peter LaCamera. Pete, the General LaCamera now, and Frank Grippy's a retired command sergeant major. Those guys were in a tremendous battle. We got to get Frank on the show one time. He can talk about one of his battles in Afghanistan. Is amazing, probably one of the finest enlisted Rangers ever been around. But they were able to see something in me, and they were able to get me an honorable discharge, which I shouldn't have gotten. But that allowed me to get back in. So, and when I went back in from that failure, I learned from the first time what not to do with my life when I went back in on the second time and went back to Ranger Battalion, and I was successful. So yeah, I definitely always learn from your mistakes. So you can always learn something from especially a massive failure. It's funny, the bigger the failure, the more lessons you can learn. And that's what I did. I just and it was a terrible time in my life at that point in time because I'd lost everything. And Leroy, it's no shock that what he did at Ranger Battalion with the actions he took when he got to deserve the Medal of Honor, to earn the Medal of Honor, it was no shock that was him that was able to sacrifice possibly his life. He could have. I mean, he picked up a grenade and threw it back, a live grenade, and threw it back during a combat operations where another Ranger buddy of mine, tremendous guy, Hopalong. He's called Hopalong Waters. If you follow him on Instagram, Matty Waters, where Matty lost part of his leg during that battle. But Leroy threw the grenade back and was willing to sacrifice himself. But he was also at that point got all the way to be an E5. I think it was an E5 at the time when that happened. I was in that battalion when that. So don't confuse it. I'm not no stolen valor here. I was gone from the battalion when all that happened. But when he E5 at the time, we didn't think he was ever even going to get his tab and stay in battalion, and he just sucked it up and did it until he got to Ranger School, which was damn near the max time you can be a battalion without getting kicked out, and that's 2 years. If you don't get to Ranger School after being with your scroll after finishing RIP and you're not finished with Ranger School by the 2 year mark, you're getting sent down the road to 25th Light Infantry, or you're getting sent to 82nd, or you're getting sent into 101st, or one of the brigades, armor brigades. And that was amazing just to me, just to see him at the platoon level. And then we were in the same company, a Bravo company, and just see him, man, I just trucking along, just remaining that private and getting his chance finally to Ranger School when he was at the very end of his rope to stay at battalion, but then seeing how successful he is now. And that always goes back to hard work, man. Doesn't matter how talented you are, what natural talent you have, you can always make up for that lack of natural talent or lack of natural ability with hard work and gain that ability just by pushing yourself. And yeah, dude's a freaking warrior, man. And he was a warrior basic. He just had to get it brought out of him, and he did, and we all saw it. And yeah, we had a rock star basic training class, tremendous class, and he was part of that. It's still amazing for me to look back at that second time I went through basic training, because I had to do it again after I got kicked out of the military 3 years earlier. It always made me look back at the basic training class and go, man, we had who would have known it at the time, what some of those guys that were in that class went on and did later in their lives. It's amazing. You just don't think that. You're like, man, you look back now, like, God, that class was, holy crap. It was tremendous. Just warriors and guys that were self-motivating, and guys that really did live the Army values and the Ranger creed, and were willing to sacrifice themselves for their brothers and complete the mission, though they be the lone survivor. It's amazing. So I'm glad it touched somebody, and it should, and it shows that everybody out there, you can overcome any adversity you have. You can push on through as long as you just don't quit. It's as simple as that. And when you fall down, pick your ass back up and keep moving forward. And if you can do that, you're going to be successful. I can't tell you when, but you will be eventually. And that's the biggest thing you can do in a fight or anything where you're I know we got to get to Dave, but in a fight or in an operation or in your job is when you're in the middle of something traumatic, you're in the middle of something that is difficult, is looking for the end. What's the outcome going to be? And honestly, I think that's where a lot of people start to fall out and they give up, because it's like, oh my gosh, this outcome's going to take forever. When are we going to get done? And you just give up. When you're in a fight or you're in something that's difficult, don't look at the outcome. Just be in that fight, be in the moment, and it will end. But if you look at that ending, and I know you want to be successful, I'm not saying you don't want to end and be successful, but if you look and just look at the total end of it, when is this going to end? That's when you start to mind fuck yourself, and you start to get tired, and you start to and I'm talking physical aspect, but I'm also talking mental aspect of it. You give up. Like, I can't do this anymore. Just fight, just be in the moment. Even in Benghazi, I didn't look at when's this ever going to end? I never once thought that at all, that entire night and morning. It was just keep fighting, stay in the moment, keep fighting. It'll end eventually, and it'll end when it's supposed to end. But I'm not trying to expect it to end. I'm going to kill everybody that's coming over that wall that's trying to, but I'm not going to say, it's going to end it's got to end by tomorrow. It's like, well, it ends when it ends. And that's what people need to do with their lives. And I know that's what Leroy did. Why? And that's why he became so successful. He didn't know when he was going to get to Ranger School, be successful or anything. He just kept plugging along, and look what happened. And now he's like a Ranger legend. He is a Ranger legend. He's not like he is. And and I'm proud to call him a very good friend too. And if you ever follow Hopalong Waters, we'll get Maddie Waters on the show too.
You have a million people you want to get on.
Oh, I know. And all my Ranger, but we get SEALs on all the time. But
yeah,
we'll get my Ranger buddies on that people don't know about.
You'll know, but I think you're noticing the same thing I am. Like, there's no shortage of people to get on. That's why I want to get guest suggestions. I'm like, I don't know when I'll get to these people, but we're gonna try. With that, we got Dave Bray standing by. So before we get to him, Fort Scott Munitions is a manufacturer of multi-federal patented solid copper and brass CNC spun ammunition. It's designed to tumble upon impact in soft tissue, leaving devastating wound channels for faster bleed out and quicker incapacitation. This ammunition was originally developed to innovate and improve on the standard of military-grade ammunition design. It was found that not only did the TUI ammunition outperform competitors in the self-defense industry, but it quickly became apparent that it would be a top contender for hunters alike. With the ammunition being CNC spun, the tolerances are some of the tightest on the market, ensuring that you receive the same results with each pull of the trigger. Fort Scott Munitions is available throughout privately owned businesses in all 50 states, as well as directly online through fortscottmunitions.com. Use the exclusive promo code Battleline for 15% off your order. Only available to listeners of this podcast. Once again, that's fortscottmunitions.com, fortscottmunitions.com. Offer code Battleline. Stuff is flying off the shelves, guys. Like, for real. I'm not saying this as like a marketing ploy. There's not a whole lot left, so get on it if you're going to get something. They're restocking, but you know yourself, Tonto, like they're doing great. They're doing big business right now, so you got to get on that.
Get on and expect a couple weeks extra add on the delivery if we're getting it shipped to you guys. But it'll get shipped to you. Fort Scott don't mess around. They're getting it done, and they hired new people to make sure their orders and our orders are getting filled.
Yep. So exclusive code Battleline, 15% off. FortScottMunitions.com. Fort Scott Munitions is a proud supporter of Chris Peranto, Battleline Tactical, and the Battleline Podcast. With that, joining us on the podcast is Dave Bray, musician, Navy veteran. And I have to ask, because I was saying this to Chris before we even started. I don't know if you remember me, man. I remember you from back in the day when I was working at Sirius XM on Will Cow. You were in Madison Rising at the time, and yes. I've met up with you a few times. So it's been quite a few years though. Now that you're doing your own thing,
I remember your voice.
Thank you, dude. Yeah,
who forgets that voice? Man? He's got the Casey Kasem, Barry White, definitely radio voice going on there.
I will take it, man. I feel like people know the voice more than the face. You know, it's a funny Sirius XM story. I don't know if I ever told you this one, Chris. I was in the lobby once at Sirius XM, and Larry King was in the lobby, and I was like, I have to strike up a conversation with Larry King right now. So what are you doing?
That's Larry King.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So it's like I have to strike up a conversation with Larry King. And by the way, it is like shoulder punch since you don't have the video up. But and I said to him, I was like, hey, Mr. King, I've always looked up to your career, always respected what you did. And as I'm telling this, he kind of interrupts me, and he's like, so you want to be a broadcaster? And I was like, yeah, well, I do a little bit of stuff right now. And Larry King goes, you got the voice, kid. And I was like, that is the ultimate compliment that Larry King said that. So yeah, I'll take someone recognizing my voice over my face.
Who's the guy? Who's the real annoying guy? The always talking like.
Oh, that's Gilbert Godfrey.
Yeah, Gilbert Godfrey. Your Larry King's almost a Gilbert Godfrey.
Hey, and don't knock it because Gilbert Godfrey still has his own show. I listen to comedy channels when I'm driving because that's what keeps me awake. And he's got his own show now, still on Sirius. Whatever, I think it's Raw Dog Comedy. He's got his own like special half-a-day show.
He should have named it Nails on the Chalk.
That's a good Gilbert Godfrey. So before we go too down the rabbit hole here, I should have let the audience know, about you and what you do. Dave Bray, once again, musician, Navy veteran. And yeah, what have you currently been up to? Because I know it's been a few years now that you were doing your own solo career and really forging ahead, making appearances on Fox and Friends with Pete Hegseth and doing some really big things.
Yeah, calling in favors. But I released an album. It's called Music on a Mission. Okay, this is the first of its kind storyteller record. Debuted number 6 on the iTunes Global Rock Charts. So, you see Godsmack and Shinedown, and then there's little Dave Bray USA with his little self-produced album. But the first of its kind, and it's interesting. I saw the direction of how podcasting and narratives and talk radio and audiobooks was getting really, really popular. And I wanted to get ahead of the curve, so I created an album that I actually narrate. So taking a page out of your book, Ian. I narrate and I tell the stories of each song, why they were written, why they're on the record, how they came about. And like I said, it's just there's history lessons in here about songs like Amazing Grace, God Bless America, and it's a great, great record for your kids. It's been used in schools, Sunday schools, church groups, and things as study material. And people are using it in different youth organizations like the Young Marines as a way to connect with kids. So it's just a really, really neat little piece of modern day, but historical modern day history in a way and in a dialogue and in a way that's being presented in a new digital format. So it's online, Dave Bray USA. You can find it anywhere music is sold.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome, man.
Hey, what tell, because people, music, hey, Dave, and I've known you and Becky for, I think since, what was that, Indiana thing?
We were kids.
Since we were crawling on our hands and knees, which, well, I still am at my house anyway, since I don't run it. but I think it was Indiana. Was it Rensselaer? And are we allowed? Should we say Madison Rising, or is that like saying Voldemort? Is that like saying Voldemort? Should we not say that?
I want to say it was something called Goodstock.
Goodstock, that's it. That was, remember, that was like 5 years. That was actually 5 years, a long time ago.
I think going back another stone's throw. Yeah, add a couple more.
But what, you know, and people that do know, you know your music too. But and because we get a bunch of military guys, I do want people to know a little bit more about your military background, if you don't mind talking about it. And it doesn't have to be. You can sexy it up. You can keep. I don't care. I just want people to know a little bit about your Navy background before you even started doing music. And then I know you've probably been asked this a million times, but what was the motivating factor for you to get into music after the Navy, and how did that all come about, and then just your work ethic? Because of this show, we really do want to show people that hard work, you can succeed and overcome anything. And so if you could do a little bit of that, I know our listeners would love to hear that, because a lot of them I don't even know a lot about your military background leading up to where you're a musician, because I met you when you were a musician. I knew you were a veteran, but I'd even like to hear it, man. So Can you go into a little bit of that?
Sure. Well, as far as the military background, nothing glamorous. It was all super top secret. I can't talk about it.
That's what I wanted to hear. It's all double secret. I can't tell you.
I was
I'd have to guess.
in rice paddy, man. You were wiping crap on your face. It was very. I come from a military background, military family. Dad was a Navy guy. My brother was a Navy guy, and I just sort of followed in the footsteps. And I was really highly motivated as a young kid to, I saw some Navy SEAL movies. And, I turned into this kid that was like running around completely sort of total Goonie style, headbands on, backpack full of gear, sticks, and like.
That's sweet.
Like I would buy like saltpeter, sugar, old newspapers, and like stuff to make fuse materials to make smoke bombs, and I had some BB guns and pellet guns and stuff. So that was me as a kid, a small town terrorist. But if we could do anything to mess with traffic as kids at night, that's what we just became. Anything that could bring on a little heat for us to run away from. That's we were working on our evasive maneuvers, but we were pretty technical. Like we had some pretty serious like caverns and caves. Like on snow nights, when it snowed at night, we would all go out in white and take a white sheet so that if we were chased to a point, we could. Like we were serious. Like it was not a joke to us.
You're the Wolverines, junior Wolverines.
Yeah, we were 19 years old and running around on BMX bikes. I'm just kidding. We were. This is probably like 8, 10, 12 years old, but that's how we grew up. I'm a small town kid. Maybe 300 to 400 people.
What town? What town?
Jefferson, Pennsylvania.
Okay. Wow.
And, we had a roundabout in the middle of our square that had a World War I soldier charging into battle. And it was it's beautiful, still there. It's got a couple of cannon armaments. It's just a really nice little town that I grew up in, small town, Jefferson, Pennsylvania. And there wasn't a lot to do. So we just raised as much hell as we possibly could and had fun with our childhood. And I don't think kids will ever get that experience that I had growing up, at least with my group of friends and what we had. But that was wasn't that it was expected that you were going to go in the military, but when people left for the military, it was a big deal in our small town. Like, I can remember some of the older kids when they were seniors in high school and graduating and going off. It was a big deal. And, being in sports and that kind of thing and small town civics, you really get to learn how America operates. Everybody pitches in at the fire hall. Everybody works at the baseball diamond. When the carnival comes to town, the kids help clean up and make some extra coin. And it's just, like I said, very, very small town living, farming. You farmed in the summertime. You threw bales of hay, or you picked cabbage or kale or tomatoes and that kind of stuff to make money. But again, that afforded our terrorist operation. Our cell was pretty well funded by farming communities. No different than the Taliban for the most part. You farm and you buy armaments with what you sell. But
that's
my youth, and that's what we loved. We loved being that. So when they said that you could go in the military and do all this with real guns and real bombs and real explosives, and then found out about the Navy SEALs, that was the whole reason for join the Navy. And I went in delayed entry at like 16, 17 years old. When I turned 17, I signed my papers. I was ready.
What movie's that from? That sounds just like it was Sign My Papers.
I signed my papers. just in case a war broke out, I was ready to go. But yeah, from there, man, military-wise, I was again, highly motivated, recruit, chief petty officer in the Navy. Out of there, went to my first duty station. A school was Naval Hospital Corps School, and that's where I met my first real Trident-wearing Navy SEAL guy. And he was coming through. I'm like, why are you here? You're like a god. Why explain this? And he's just like, a lot of us, we have to come through this school for medical training and that kind of thing. And I just thought, once you're a SEAL, you're a SEAL. You put on a Trident.
You just put it in there. It's like osmosis. Everything just comes.
Everything else is, But that's where I learned more and more. And I started training with him a little bit, before classes and after schools. And then crossing over into the green side of the house, went to field medical. It was called Field Medical Service School at the time, out of Camp Johnson above Camp Lejeune there, Camp Geiger.
Yep.
And I graduated top dog out of that class. So again, just highly motivated, just young individual. And as soon as I got out of there, I went to the sniper teams out of Camp Lejeune with Stay 2-2 and worked up to go out on a MEU and urban sniper school, and just again training. We started working with Force Recon and the direct action platoons and those door kickers, and we did a lot of the recon and surveillance and that kind of stuff that we worked again alongside with Recon and Force Recon, and even some SEAL teams came in for the workups and for the MEU. And then we went over 22nd MEU, and we carried into the Med, and then we did a big U-turn outside of Africa, and we got called in on an Operation Assured Response, and that was slightly humanitarian. But I always bring this up. I always say what they did for Operation Assured Response is what they should have done for Benghazi, Chris, because as soon as it got hot outside of the embassy and civil war started breaking out, they covered the embassy in green, man. You couldn't see us, there was in a square inch that didn't have a Marine on it. And, a carrier group, just constant flow of traffic and Marines and forces and show of force. It took that civil war and everything else away and pushed everybody back. And, there's a couple flare-ups over there, but that was it. And that's what should have happened when he was going through what he was going through.
Well, there was things, different things we were doing that weren't. I don't think were going on during that time on the government level, as far as what the hell our commander in chief and the rest of the DC was having us do over there in Libya. So and if we were doing stuff that we humanitarian, which it wasn't, we weren't doing any humanitarian shit over there at all. We were just destroying nations. I think it would have been, but brother, that just shows that it's not the military. It's not really. And the commanders somewhat have, if they have commanders with the nutsack that'll tell their bosses to pound sand when it needs to be done is up, then you get something like what you went through, but which was good. No, it was good. It was the proper response. But the military is always ready, and whether you're Marine, Navy, whether you're in the Army or Air Force, guys are always ready to go. They just wait for the call. And you guys obviously were always ready, and you got the call and you went. Where guys were ready for us, they were everywhere. And you can say, people can say, no, they weren't ready, they couldn't respond. Well, there were units, whether it was Marines, whether it was a SEAL team in Africa, whether it was, you got the fast movers in Italy and Greece, they were all ready. They just were waiting for the call that they never got. But that's kudos to the guys on the ground. The guys on the ground are always ready. They're always ready to respond. And you guys obviously were, and you responded, and you did a good job. You did your thing. So don't sell yourself short on your service, dude. I know you're being humble, but
that's just the first year. Got another 20 years to go.
I know. I mean, that's like the first 2 months in, right? Wasn't that first 2 months in? But going back to the common theme, and I always like to reiterate, you just worked your ass off. Hard work. You're busting your ass already, and it came from a small town background and kids causing trouble in town. Hey, believe me, me and my friend, when we were 8 years old, we used to carry our little red Rip Flyer wagons collecting aluminum cans. But in the meantime, there was a highway right next to where we were walking. We would throw glass bottles on there because we thought it'd be the coolest thing to see a car wreck and their tires blow out, because you see that like Dukes of Hazzard. That was the thing in the day.
If we're going down that road, we used to take the reflectors off of our bicycle wheels.
Yep.
And then glue them on the stuffed animals' heads. We used to pull the stuffed animals across the road with some fishing wire. And
That's awesome.
at night, the snow. So yeah, we're with you.
So you see that because you think that's the coolest thing to watch a car spin out. Because I
Oh.
see that all the time until the local sheriff stopped us. They've stopped where he's driving by, and you know, small town, everybody knows everybody.
Sure.
And he looked
Sunday
at me.
morning,
And goes,
yeah, Sunday
Is it?
morning church. You go to
Yeah.
church and there's the cop, local cop, Giorgio, and he's sitting there looking.
Isn't that hilarious?
Four calls from you.
I remember all that. I know your father. You know I know your father. Do you want me to tell your father? I know you're gonna get your ass whooped when you get home because he knows it. He knows it. When I'm gonna tell him what you're doing right now. That was scarier than anything than the damn sheriff. It was. Aren't you the Perano son? And you're the Caruth boy, aren't you? Yeah, I know your dad. I know who they are. I know who he is. We're gonna go talk to him right now. Like, oh shit, we're in so much trouble.
Or coach. I'm gonna tell your coach. Oh, forget it. Then you don't.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell your coach. Oh, what got you? Okay, we went through the first 2 months of your military career.
Yeah, week and a half military career. Yeah.
But so, what drove you to the music side, man? How'd you get into that?
So, music was one of those things that was like a refuge for me, and I can remember when I was a kid studying music, not just listening to it, but studying. I played Hotel California like 26 times over and over till my old man kicked in the door and said, "That's it, it's done." But I could not figure out what it was about. Honestly, I couldn't figure out what it was about that song that made that song different than every other song that I had heard up until that point. But something about Hotel California, it gave me the creeps, but it also gave me a cathartic, sort of just a vibe. And every time I come across one of those songs, I still do it. I'll listen to it over and over and over and over again. I don't care who it is. If it's I don't know, some pop artist or like Camila Cabello or whatever. If I hear something and my ears pick up and I go in that direction, I will sit there and study that song. And I think it's just always had something to do with an audible relationship with just everything. I've always been just an intense listener to music. So obviously I wanted to do it. I wanted to create the same way they created, and I wanted to create those emotions that came, and those feelings of catharsis and just the goosebumps. And one of the songs that really did that for me, even as a kid, still to this day, is the national anthem, Star Spangled Banner. And even it doesn't matter who sings it, if it's sung well and sung properly, and there's a flag somewhere, just for whatever reason, I get a little choked up, I get the goosebumps, and I don't know. But I've been trying to harness that lightning in a bottle. That music is the only thing that's ever done that to me. There's been a certain parts in movies, when Bruce Willis is like, about ready to save the world, like that. You'll get that sort of overwhelming feeling of emotion, but music is such a personal relationship. It's just you and your interpretation audibly as to what's happening. And, just something as simple as one little guitar part or something can set a piece of music completely off and just really, really dig into your soul. And that's what I've been trying to create with my music. It's what I've been doing with music since I was, even 15 years old, before I even started, in the military and everything like that. I was playing in rock bands. But obviously, songs like Amazing Grace in church, I used to sing in the church choir as well as a kid, even back to preschool. We had a church that I went to for preschool, and we used to sing in the main cathedral. And it was just I would love those moments where, music comes together in the right place at the right time. So it's just like singing Amazing Grace in a cathedral. Sounds perfect to me all the time. And, it's just like, God Bless America, Star Spangled Banner, any of those songs. It just, it resonates to me. And I know the power in them that's there. And I love to perform them. And then I love to try to bring whatever I can from them to my music.
100%, man. What you're saying about being an intent listener actually reminds me. We have Dave Silvera from Korn is scheduled to be on the show coming up. Great guy. But, when I interviewed him the first time, we were talking about Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction, classic album. And he's like, yeah, the thing that always stood out to me was in the right side of my headphone, one of the guitarists, he's like either, Izzy or Slash is playing one thing. And then in the left side of my headphone, the other guitarist is playing something totally different. And he's like, I wanted us to replicate that on the first Korn album. And it's such a specific thing that you probably wouldn't pick up on unless you've listened a million times before. But I think when you're like a nerd for music, like you are, or like I am, you pick up on these little things that differentiate all the music you hear and what makes great classic albums and what makes stuff playable again 10 years later, 20 years later. Hotel California, what, 30, 40 years later?
Yeah.
Yep. And you bring up David Silvera. I think I lived in Huntington Beach for a while, and that's where Korn, they're from like Bakersfield.
Yeah.
And I used to work at a place called Chimayo at the beach, and I think David used to come in every once in a while and grab some chow and stuff like that.
That's cool, man. It's cool to hear the connection too, because all these years later, I mean, Dave wasn't a guy who talked about politics with Korn, but I know that Dave now is very openly like, yeah, those guys like Chris Peranto and Tig who were there in Benghazi are guys I look up to, and he's a big, NRA guy, and it's just funny because I grew up on Korn when I was in like 7th, 8th grade, and then made this transition to working with guys like Andrew Wilkow, and you never think those paths are going to cross, and sometimes they do with a lot of artists out there, some more out there than others.
So I got an NRA story. I was walking to the NRA annual meeting, and I turn around, see out of the corner of my eye somebody's behind me. So the door's about to close, and I was like, oh, whoa, I got that for you. And I go back and kind of hold the door. It's Matt Hughes, like MMA fighter.
Right. Yeah.
Totally UFC like champ at the time. And I look over, I was like, how you doing, Matt? And he's like, doing good. I was like, you doing pictures today or anything like that, like corny? And he's like, yeah, man, let's go. Let's do one. So I did a selfie with him. And then I went and I performed at one of the booths, and I performed later that night. But I was walking back, and I was just coming through the meeting, and he came from behind me again, and it was he's like you're not working the doors anymore. He made like a cocky comment about me being the bellhop, like holding the door kind of thing or something like that. And I was like, oh, I see how it is, man. I was like, and I had made a snap back to him, but he took like a knuckle shot, and he hit me like right back in between the scapula, like right here. Like, you know what spot I'm talking about? Like right in there.
Yeah.
And he freaking bruised my rib. And he tapped. It was a tap. He's just like, and I was like, ah! Matthew Hughes, I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna get him back when he's like 95 years old. I'm gonna come up to him and be like, like he monkey bumped up underneath my scappy. But anyway, that's my Matt Hughes story. Always be prepared around them sneaky MMA guys. Those Brazilians, they taught him way too much.
You cross paths with some interesting people at SHOT Show and the NRA conventions. I know you know it, Chris.
Oh, you always cross paths with weird people. Weird people. I like Andre Arlovsky, the weirdest dude. I know he's listening out there. Andre's a great friend, but that's where you cross paths. That's where I met him. I met him at SHOT Show. I know we're not talking like, I'm not trying to one up Dave here with this UFC. That's what UFC got. It's just the weirdest thing that you meet these people there. And you become friends with them, or you just you become close to them, I don't think a lot of people realize that we have so much more in common than what we really think we do. And you would think, especially you talk about Huntington Beach, and Dave's out there working, and then Silvera comes in. Those guys are two pretty staunch. I would say, would you say Dave's right, or what would you say, Ian? You told me one. I mean, his feelings. You're saying David Silvera? Yeah, Silvera. Yeah, I mean, I just know he's a guy who respects you guys in the military, is a strong NRA guy. I mean, I'm sure he could tell us when he comes on, but I mean, just the point is, and I think that you're getting at too, is everybody says, oh, all these people in Hollywood, all these musicians, they're all like socialists, they're all liberal, and it's actually not the case. Not the case at all. Some more outspoken than others, but there's definitely guys who share the same values and feelings as probably, the three of us.
We look at Tito. Yeah. MMA. That guy's like just out there pounding the Trump train. But then you also look at, if we're going down the Korn road, you look at Head, and I just watched his documentary a while back, and it was just his journey with drugs and everything that he went down through with the band and the music, and just being completely inundated and taken over by basically the devil. And the guy dug himself out, and he found faith, and he found the Lord. But he's able to put on that armor and still put himself back into the fire and put himself in with those same people and around those same crowds and be able to perform and to do it all. But now he does it, with an armor of Christ and an armor of faith on. I know Christian is also, he's a believer. And, I think that's what separates a lot of us, even from whether it's political or whatever, it separates us to be able to say, okay, today was a bad day. Okay, last week was a bad week. Okay, last month was a horrible month. Man, the last 5 years have really knocked the crap out of me.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm not giving up on trying to search for the light. I'm not just going to throw my hands up in the air and quit and walk away and say, okay, well, maybe the next life I'll be able to be a successful musician, or maybe the next life like Chris, I'll be a world-renowned speaker, and Ian, maybe next life I'll just be an amazing voiceover actor and do what I do there. The thing is, with faith and with the right mentality of, hey, it doesn't matter how dark and how thick the soup gets, I'm gonna get out of it. I'm gonna keep keep churning the milk until it turns into butter and crawl out, right? So that's the difference, I feel like, between the people who end up at the end holding, the trophy, and the people who just end up hanging their heads and going to work and quitting on life. And there's too much to live for, and there's too much out there to quit and to surrender to someone else's, to someone else's success.
Yeah, it's funny that we just before you came on, we talked about the VA system. We talked about pharmaceuticals. We talked about how you can get hooked on all them drugs to make you feel better. And what you just said is what we just really talked about. How you fix the shot and how you get out of that hole. It's not the drugs. It's not taking the medication. It's fixing your life. That's what you do. You fix, and that's exactly what you said. He came out and he fixed his life. And Ed, now he's back in the same snake pit, but he's a stronger person. He can deal with it now, and he's handled it. And whatever adversity you have, you just take a step back, you fix yourself with faith. And my faith is huge now, huge. That's why I was able to get back after I nuked everything and kind of went off grid for about 6 months. That's what I was doing. I was fixing myself because I had just totally lost Christ, lost my faith, lost everything. Like, what the hell? And it wasn't until I took an inward look and said, hey man, it's me that's doing it. I don't need all these drugs to try to get me off depression and stuff. I just need to change the way I'm living, change my lifestyle. I needed to unfuck myself or fix my fucking self, or whatever you want to say. But bringing God back into it, or bringing faith back into it. Again, as a Christian, I do believe in Christianity. I am a Christian. I do believe in God and Jesus. I'm not going to tell you have to. A good Christian is not. I was not going to say, no, you have to do this. But all I'm going to say is you do have to have faith. Have faith in something bigger than yourself out there. Mine is God and the Lord. And when I brought that back in, that's when my life got back in order. And it took, but you're right, it took a while. It took 3 years. It didn't happen overnight.
Yep.
And there was some steps back too, where you fell back. Like, oh my gosh, okay, I just got to continue forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, just keep going. And there's going to be, the end, but I wasn't looking for the outcome. I just was, let's continue to fight through it. And I got through, but you hit the nail on the head, dude. Biggest thing was faith, having faith that there's somebody out there that's taking care of me. I got to fix the way I live, and can't live. We have commandments for a reason. I can't keep breaking these commandments and expect my life to get better. I've got to fix it. And but I actually, going back to that, I know, because when I met you, you're doing well. But then right when I met you, that's when all that shit went bad with the group that we shall not name. But we don't even talk about. I just want to talk about
Baltimore.
Baltimore. Baltimore. I want to, because you were going through hell right then, financial too, and you're having problems with your son. And if you can talk about it, because obviously now I watch you now, and it looks like you and Becky and you have a tremendous wife, and I know she's helped a bunch with this too. You guys, from what I see from a social media standpoint, you've got out of it. You could tell there was a time where, brother, you were, and when we did that event where you sang, and I think it was like out Las Cruces, New Mexico, or somewhere, it was right there in like the Mexico-Texas border. But during that time frame, that was where you were struggling, man. But you didn't give up. Can you talk about that, and just maybe the positive of how you pushed yourself through that? You kind of already went into it, but maybe even a little bit more detail, as much as you can, without getting, I don't know what legal ramifications there are. I know you're going through some legal issues with them too, but I don't want to hear. I just want to hear how you and people need to hear, how did you get out of that? And it wasn't overnight. You were 2-3 years that you had to deal with that bullshit until you pushed on.
Yep. Still to this day, unfortunately dealing with all that. And it is what it is. That there's, like you said, for legal reasons, I can't really talk about it. But there was a complete crumbling and breakdown, but it was something that was leading up to that anyway. And you have to, for me, it was to readdress the past in a way to say, okay, those things happened. This is what the past is. How do I move forward in a positive light and take what I've learned from the past and either say it was supposed to happen, or, I love how people say one door closes, another one opens. That's total bullshit. It's absolute crap. It works like that, but it only works if you can look over like whatever sludge is holding you back, and whatever thing. Yep. And it usually is someone else. Okay, so let's just put it to another party. So you're instantly, the first reaction is like to finger point and say, well, that person did this, and they didn't have to do that, and they shouldn't have done that morally, and they shouldn't have done that from a business perspective, and they shouldn't have done all these things. And I don't agree. And the first thing, like you said, you just go into this tantrum mode of just defiance and anger, and from there you hold on to that aggression, and you sit there and you let that, whatever that little dirty thing that is over that kid in the Peanuts cartoon.
That little dirty cloud.
Yeah, a little dirty cloud, right? And it's in there, and it's sitting there, and it's going, and it's cruising. And so you're like, you know what? The only way to get rid of that is I'm gonna drink some beers, and I'm just gonna hang out with my friends for a while. And well, your friends go to work every day, and your whole career has been just wiped out, and you don't have a location to go to work, and there's you don't have the next step in place to be able to launch or do anything from. So you really have to just annihilate you almost have to do a cleansing of everything. You know what I mean? So, like, unfortunately for me, a lot of my friends didn't see me for a long time. I spent some time at my mom has a place that's out in the middle of nowhere, just out in the middle of the woods, 8-frame, 1-bedroom, a sink, a bathroom, and a wood stove. And I took a guitar, and, I was all ready and set to just sit out there and just drink my sort of stuff away and do what I needed to do. But what happened was everything changed. There was a shift in, it went from worse to more worse. So here I was, I had thought that the worst was behind me, and all I had to do was go forward somehow, right? So as soon as I got to the point where I was like, okay, well, now I'm ready to take it on. Let's go into the next phase. Boom, another phase drops on me that's like completely out of my control now. So now it's into the legal system, and it's a mess. So
yeah.
I had just almost got over the hump of being, sort of left out at sea, and then wham, I got smacked in the head with legal issues. So that's where I was, and it was almost like that was the spark, or the straw that broke the camel's back, or the spark that ignited a fire in me to reassess what I was doing and what I was carrying inside of me, and whether I was letting it rot me or become a fuel for me. And that little ball, that little thing, turned into the picture of an atom. It became very, very focused. It was no longer scrambled. It was a ball, and it had the perfect, now looked like the nuclear symbol, right? So I had recreated what was once chaos. I had put aside a bunch of the things that were holding me back, drinking all the time and all that kind of stuff. I just decided to say, you know what? None of that is helping, because I wake up being more and more angry every time I do it. So scratch that, wipe that off the table. I wasn't eating, I wasn't exercising, right? I was eating junk. I wouldn't eat for a couple days, and then when I would, it would be garbage. Change that. Okay, so every time I eat that food, I feel like garbage. Why do I keep doing that? Don't know, but if it's part of the ball, it's either got to go, or it's got to all been there. Yeah. So then we got to change the diet. And then once the diet changed, my mental changed. Well, I don't feel so bad today. Well, what am I going to do? Well, maybe I should do some exercises. Okay. So now we got diet, exercise, and after that, it was like, you know what? I'm just going to be grateful that I don't feel like crap today, and I'm going to thank the Lord. I'm going to put my hands together. So we got diet, exercise, faith. And those three things on a daily basis every morning, to do something physically healthy for myself to start my day. Get up, do a little thrash session, some push-ups, some squats, some just in the floor exercises, get a little bit of a sweat going for 45 minutes, get done, drink some water, fuel up your body, take some time with the Bible, take some time with whatever your faith motivation is, and go ahead and meditate on that faith, and just know that good things are going to happen for you. Picture yourself in a better place tomorrow. And then just eat throughout the day good, positive things, and continue being grateful for everything you have and everything you do throughout that day. And that has been the repetition. So that has been, if you want to call it the discipline for me, to get past, one step past, and refocus the ball of nastiness into that nuclear symbol. That's what I picture. I picture, okay, how do I sharpen those lines? How do I make them more perfect? How do I get better, even on social media or musically or anything in my career? How do I create a better video? How do I create a better song? What do I need to sing about? Every day is a continual search for the next blessing. And if you're blinded by alcohol and drinking and all that, drugs, whatever, you can't find that road. You will never find that road. Those blessings will be invisible because they come and go so quickly.
Yeah.
They're such tiny little points that you'll miss them. And those are the things I've been focusing on. And that has been the relentless pursuit of continuing on a path that I know that I was made to do. I know that God put me here to do it, and I'm not going to let him down. And I don't want to be at the end of the day getting handed a set of like forklift keys going, hey man, you drove a forklift for 60 years of your life. You must have loved it. So in heaven, you're going to do it for eternity. I want him to hand me a microphone and a guitar and say, hey, play for my people. That's what I want. So you create your own heaven, you create your own afterlife, you create your own vision, you create your own destiny. And that's all it is. You know, just a daily repetitive reminder to yourself that you're here for a purpose. Find that purpose, execute every single day.
Dave, I love every single thing that you're saying. What were you saying, Chris? Because I was just going to say this encompasses like everything that we talk about. Yeah,
everything. And all you listeners out there, we did not plan this at all. This was not a plan.
It just happened. Yeah.
What we started talking about before you came on, Dave, is exactly what you're reaffirming right now. And I just think that's amazing. And if that ain't God's work right there, bro, I don't know what else you can do to prove it. Don't look out and see a beautiful sunset or something like that. That will reaffirm it right there that it's God's work. But it's amazing because it's exactly what we were talking about before you even came on the show, and you reaffirmed it. So that's all I wanted to say. And I didn't know you were going to say the same thing.
No, I mean,
great minds think alike, I guess.
For sure, and everything that you're doing right now, Dave, is showing that you really have climbed out of that. Because truly, if people go to DaveBrayUSA.com, they're going to see the media appearances you've made recently, like big events that you've done. And you're doing a lot of just great stuff on your own now. And when you talk about the legal issues and all that, you know, not to name drop here or anything, but I don't think people realize that in bands, there are always all these legal issues guys go through the years. Happens to more bands than not. You know, we had Frankie Palmieri from Amir on the podcast, who's a great friend of mine, and that band was super successful. And at one time, all of the other guys in the band did not get along with Frankie, and they were like, we're not going to do this anymore. And Frank was like, that's fine if you guys want to go. But he made it a point, I'm keeping that band name. I'm going to keep this music alive. I refuse to give this up. And I think people thought every single member of this band just left except for Frank. They're going to be done. And they put out an album that was huge for them, that re-sparked their career, did like a major tour after that, and it was due to his perseverance. Another thing that I'm thinking of is Darren Miller from CKY. I'm a big CKY fan. He wrote all the songs, he sang all the songs, played guitar on all the songs, and yet he was not able to keep that band name. There is now a band touring as CKY without him, playing genuinely all of his songs. They're all his songs, but he has persevered, created a new band, got to see them live recently before all this crap with the coronavirus, and they were amazing. So I think when you have that spirit in you and that perseverance, and sometimes you do get down, you sulkomania a little bit, but once you get through that, I think, and say, I'm going to get through this crap, I'm going to do what I'm born to do, exactly what you're saying, I'm going to have faith in God, faith in myself, you can make amazing things happen, and you're truly doing it right now because you're still doing the same things that you were doing previously, but now you're doing them on your own.
And that was the hard lesson. And I think that even to pick up and play a guitar and sing at the same time, for me, I didn't play a guitar for ever. You know, I always relied on a guitar player in my band. I always relied on a drummer. I always relied on a bass player. I always relied on somebody else. And I always have never had a complete fulfillment in a band environment. There's been a couple times on stage where I felt, this is it. These are the guys. This is the one. This is the group. But I've never had and I don't know if any band ever has that. Even the Beatles broke up, and they were the best. So what other band has really stayed together with all the original members?
What's funny? Do you ever listen to Eddie Trunk on Sirius XM? Because he's talked about this before, and there's barely any. I remember one that he named, U2. That's one of the only ones I could think of.
Okay. Yeah. I can see that. And I think Green Day probably could be considered one as well.
Green Day, U2, there's maybe 5 that you can think of.
Not too many bands make it to Green Day and U2 level. It's hacks over here. I'm talking about like the rest of us, that aren't complete gods in the business. But, and that's the thing. And even like I was thinking of just the Eagles, but no, the Eagles broke up for a while. But the point is, I knew that I had to do something by myself and create something by myself. But that was also a proving ground to say, okay, what can I do? What do I have? What are my tools? What are my options? And that's why I went to Nashville, recorded with a buddy of mine, Jim Frazier. He's on the record, Barry out of Nashville. So he and I, I would send, I just created a different format. So instead of taking a band to the studio and bashing our heads against the wall, I don't like this. You got to do that. Got to do this. Your guitar sounds wrong. Blah 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 blah. And wasting all that time, I just got with some of these multi-track producers, like Gus Berry and again like Jim Frazier out of Nashville. And I said, hey, this isn't my idea for a song. I'm looking for this sound. Can you help me find it? And we just start working our way up from there. Hey, do you like this guitar? Yeah. Hey, do you like this drum sound? Do you like that drum sound? That's pretty good. I said, I'm looking for something a little bigger. And we just work with each song. And if it's just 2 people, you can take out some of the menage, whatever you want to call it.
You can say
the minutia, the bullshit.
The minutia. Don't ask me. I always get the vocabulary wrong. I don't know that.
I do, but but you get rid of the minutia, and it again, it's just like ripping apart some of those extra, those pieces of the bundle to formulate that perfect symbol. And again, my music is really starting to get a little bit more razor edge and solid. I'm proud of it. Again, there's times where I listen to other people that still have a band, and you can still feel that there's a band there, but they're all pretty much doing kind of the same thing I'm doing. You know what I mean? But again, when it came to the music on a mission, Dave Bray USA. Again, I want to thank you guys for having me on. The album is a storyteller album, so I tell the history of songs like Amazing Grace, God Bless America, and there's some faith elements in there as well. And that was my testament to music. And I said, you know what, I'm going to come out and I'm going to do something completely different. So that's the storyteller aspect. And then it debuted at number 6 on iTunes. So that's not terrible for some small town kid out of Pennsylvania.
Your music is it's going to keep getting better and better because of what you go through, dude. In your soul's learning, and it comes out in your music. And I don't want you to go through any more adversity. But I tell you what, man, the adversity that you went through, it makes it. I don't know if I'm not a songwriter, I'm not a singer, obviously, but I don't know if sometimes the adversity makes the music come out better because it is therapeutic for you. And people want to hear. So I want to hear you sing when you're singing from your heart. And sometimes that pain is what causes that good music to come out. But I'm glad you found peace. And again, you have a tremendous family that helps. So.
When I talk about music on a mission, my wife, Becky, is mission control. So everything happens. Codename Houston, you know what I mean? So nothing happens without her. I mean, I couldn't do this. There's an essence to the business that is requiring so much patience and dedication to closing loop, circling back, and getting all your ducks in a row that I don't possess. I got 0. I got 0 ducks in rows. I got no circle back. Yeah, none of that. I do not stay at a La Quinta ever. So no. But the point is, without her, just the teamwork that we have, and then even when it comes to the T-shirt line and stuff that we do at the house, the boys take care. They're 9 and 11 years old. They're responsible for inventory lists. They're responsible for packaging, shipping. And that's their thing. Like when I get it low on a shirt and a brand, they're like, Dave, you need to print this shirt. And I'm just like, okay, thank you. So there's also the support merchandise has been huge for me since starting, this COVID close down. I wasn't able to go on tour. I lost over 25 show dates and tour dates. And that's places that I can sell merchandise. So it's basically all just been online sales of the T-shirts and stuff. So if people want to support my mission, DaveBrayUSA.com.
Oh, good stuff, man. And I'm glad you talk about Becky like that. Good stuff, bro. We appreciate having you on too. And I just, again, I wanted people to hear, because what you said, and I think that's a good spot to really end it, because you did talk about what we talked about before you came on, and that you persevered. And I know you did, but what you just said just again reaffirms that you just don't ever give up on yourself, and it sucks. And believe me, I threw the same thing with you did with the legal stuff that came through. That was worse than anything. You feel like you're out of that hole, and then all of a sudden the legal shit comes out of nowhere because people are vindictive. Yep. And it just throws you back down in that loop again that it's hard to crawl out of. So basically, if you're like in quicksand, you're getting out of it, and all of a sudden it sucks you back down for a little bit longer. But then you just got to keep fighting again and get out of it. And you did, and you're doing well. And yeah, the music's great. And just from an outsider's view, watching you and meeting you in Indiana 5 years ago and seeing you where you are now, you just look happier, dude. I'm telling you, you just look happier. You look like you're enjoying it. You look like you're having fun. And on a business aspect, it does. It looks like you've got that going now. From 2 years ago, we're figuring out to now it's rolling, and that's a testament. Good job, Becky. If you're listening, you're doing good. My wife's the same way. She handles all the merchandise, everything like that, because I can't do that for shit.
That's right.
So great job, man. I'm proud of
you.
you, and I'm glad you're moving, and you are successful, but you're going to be more successful. And I can see it from an outwards point of view, just looking at your social media, dude. You're doing great, brother.
That's awesome. Like I said, I appreciate you. And Chris, you talk about you're not a songwriter, but you are a writer, and you do very, very well to convey.
Oh, thanks.
Through your words, and I appreciate those as well. I'm reading your books and stuff as well.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah,
because man.
I know a lot of. The thing is, I know knowing Chris personally, and reading his books, and then just like Pete's got a new book out, and a lot of these other authors out there. I've shaken hands with these guys. I've sat and we've had conversations with them. So instead of hearing my voice inside of my head when I'm reading, like I literally hear Chris's voice.
Like, I'm sorry, dude. But as long as it's at night before you go to bed, I will feel very good. Just listen to my voice that puts you to sleep.
I just make sure I'm not or any like dark alleys or anything. I check sticks. I got Overwatch.
I want to hear that you're reading it with a bowl of Jello on your right side. And then you got a nice lotion in it. Oh, I'm going too far. We're doing it. Now we're getting the. I'm sorry. We were in such a good, wholesome place, and I just ruined it, dude. I ruined everything.
This is awesome. And once again, DaveBrayUSA.com, at DaveBrayUSA on Twitter and Instagram. And I now have the full album. So Chris and I are going to wrap up the show. But what song should we end the show with? Because we'll play a song.
You got a lot of veterans that listen to the.
Oh yeah. No, we get we get a lot of military and people that love the military. Our best shows are the ones with veterans on there, and that nothing taken away from the UFC guys or guys that even like Ted Nugent on. I love Ted. I think Uncle Ted's awesome. But we our biggest responses are normally from when we have a veteran on. So yeah, that's our demographic, I would say.
Yeah, well, let's play. There's a song on the record called "Warrior Inside," and from a veteran's perspective, and even I know Chris, anybody who's served, it doesn't matter how long it's been since you've laced up your boots or you polished up your boots or put on your uniform. It doesn't matter how long you're there. Yeah, you always have that warrior that's deep down inside, that young 17, 18, 19-year-old kid raised his right hand. And this goes out to our first responders out there too. Don't ever forget that. We lose quote unquote 22 a day because people do forget that they were warriors, and they forget that they can make it through and they can fight through anything. And the song "Warrior Inside" exemplifies that. It talks about the veteran spirit and realizing, what, I have lost friends, I have been through hell, but I'm gonna hold on to the warrior part of me instead of being the the one who wants to quit and put my hands up. So listen to "Warrior Inside." I think it's a good way to end it.
Perfect. Good deal, so we'll end the show with "Warrior Inside." Once again, DaveBrayUSA.com, at DaveBrayUSA on Twitter, on Instagram. It's been quite a while since I've seen you, so it's cool to do this. And I honestly didn't know your whole backstory, man. And I think for a lot of people, this is their first time hearing your backstory. So really appreciate you giving us the time.
Yeah, brother.
Thank you. Guys, thank you guys so very much. God bless you.
people know Dave from the musician standpoint. They don't. I think he's been on a ton of interviews. He interviews. He goes. He really does work his ass off getting out there, and because he has to self promote, which is good. Having a publicist is honestly a pain in the ass. I don't recommend it to anybody. Having somebody unless there's somebody from the inside, like a family member that may help you with it. So him doing it on his own, it's a little bit more work, but he's got more control. And to say that he hasn't talked about his veterans background, honestly, I've never heard it on any shows he's been on. So if this is one of the first where he went in depth, I'm glad he did, because it is important. And he is. For people that don't know, Dave isn't just a musician. He served, and he did some pretty cool stuff. He's humble about it. But he did, and he worked his ass off too. And he did it like a small town boy that family's in the military. He went in the military, and then he just worked hard at whatever he was going to do, and that was the route he took. And then he got into music, and still that work ethic and is still there. And I think a lot of that comes from his family, of course, his upbringing. Any small town kid, you have a really good upbringing. I believe you do, at least back in the day. But it transpired in the military, and they give him a good work ethic too. And it came out. So it's amazing, though, isn't it? Just shocking. What we talked about was exactly what we talked about at the beginning of the show.
I really think, you know what it is? I know that Dave follows us, and I think it's just been the connecting theme on all the shows, and that's what we do, and that's what separates us from everybody else is the whole perseverance aspect, the veterans issues, and also just not getting so bogged down in politics. I think everybody could listen to our shows and get something out of it. I think that, that's what separates us. And I like that. And that was definitely one of my more favorite interviews we've done, because we always say it at the end. It's like the guys who are the most candid, who could really be themselves, who are comfortable in their own skin. Those are the best interviews.
They are by far. And Dave is definitely. Dave doesn't care what people think about him. Man, he's just going to keep working hard, and he's going to keep busting his ass. He's going to keep singing, and his political aspect, veteran. I'm sure Dave's a right wing guy, but who gives a shit? He doesn't care. I mean, but he takes what he can get on the shows. But believe me, if CNN or MSNBC called him and said, "Hey, dude, we want you to come on the show and talk about your music," he for him to be like, "Sure, I'll come on. I want you guys to hear about me too." He doesn't care, and that's what's awesome about it. And that's what also too, with our show, we don't. Most of our guests were going down, and we're just going to stop it at that. But most of our guests, because I post that thing on Facebook, and we had people say, "Why aren't you getting any liberal?" I'm like, well, we're just getting guests.
Someone said that.
It was a troll, dude.
You know what though? We've had I like Truth Seeker, for example. I would consider more of a left wing guy than most of the people we've had on.
Coriolanus. Definitely.
Yeah, I wouldn't really call him left wing. He's definitely not a Trump fan.
He's not a Trumper though.
Exactly. And like we have Debbie Rashawn coming on. Debbie Rashawn fucking hates Trump, but you know what I mean. So, I think we're down to have on anyone that we find interesting, and for sure. And you know what it is too. I mean, it is what it is in that your background, the people who gravitated towards the guys in Benghazi were conservatives. The people that called you guys conspiracy theorists and nutcases were liberals. That's just the way it was. My background working on Will Cow's show, although I've also worked on Senator Bradley's show, who's a liberal, but more people, know my background and my feelings on things. And you and I definitely, even though it comes up on the show now and again, you and I definitely agree on far more than we disagree on.
But we still disagree on things every once in a while. That's fine. That's fine.
But it's also who wants to come on. When I hear Jimmy Allen from Puddle of Mud, like he is a fan of yours. Dave Silvera from Korn is a fan of yours. I'm not going to reach out to people who I'd rather reach out to people who like what we do than people who don't. So
and they're going to usually be more open as well, and that's what we want. We want people to come on and talk about their stories and overcoming and perseverance and forging ahead and I know all those key words, but it's really that simple. All right, when I do my speaking, that's what I say. It's really that simple, guys. I'm not going to tell you anything that you haven't heard growing up at least once in your life before. When I'm ever on stage, I always say, I said, you're not going to learn some secret. Well, if you meditate for 3 minutes, you rub your hands 5 times, then you throw salt over your left shoulder, you're going to feel like you can overcome anything. I said, it don't work like that. It's the same stuff that you've learned when you're a kid. You don't give up. You work hard. When you fall, you get back up, and then you keep trying. You just keep trying. You never quit. And when that obstacle's in front of you, you go over it, you go around it, you go through it, but you find a way to get past it. And that's as simple as that. And every person that we've had on has talked about that. And I love it when they bring faith into it.
Yeah.
True Seeker, definitely. Dave just brought faith into it. I think everybody brings a little bit into it, but when people are openly willing to speak about their faith and how God has helped them or how the Spirit has helped them, that's huge, because that's what people need to hear nowadays. Really, even more so than ever. They need to hear that, because I think our country was getting away from that over the last 16, 17 years, dude. I saw it going downrange, and that was because politics became our religion when it shouldn't have been. And
Yeah,
now
that's true.
Religion's coming back, and religion needs to. Faith is coming back. So I'm glad Dave talked about it.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I also think like the ego takes over
Yes.
for guys where they think you could fix everything on your own when
Yeah.
you're the one who gets yourself into certain messes. And you and I are not completely the same on faith. I mean, my background's kind of interesting because I was raised Reformed Jewish, and I have really learned from all different aspects of faith. I've learned from stuff from Buddhism, from Christianity. I learn from different people of different faiths, and still read the Bible and read different things. And certain things I think pertain to me and others don't. But I do know that there's always something bigger than myself, that there's a purpose, there's something that put me here. And I think people become like a victim of their own ego, that especially when they see success, that they're the greatest, they're untouchable. And, God will definitely knock you on your ass when you feel like that.
That's having pride, dude. Pride is a good thing if it's good pride, having pride in yourself. But having too much pride that you can't take a step back and listen to God, to me, that's a sin, and that He'll knock you down for that. That was me for, wow. I would say from the year after the book came out to a couple of years ago, so about 3 years of just what you said. I can do it myself. I don't need you. I don't need you, God. I got this. I have too much pride. Nobody can tell me what to do. Nobody can tell me I'm wrong. I'm going to do whatever I want to do. And boy, I got humbled real quick. And I think there's a lot of people out there that have pride and think they are bigger than the Lord, bigger than whatever faith you believe in, and that person out there that is bigger than you. And when that happens, you're going to get brought to your knees. And I saw that happen in a bunch too. So I reiterate what you said, and I agree with what you said. The people with the ego, that's pride. That's having false pride, man, and believing that you can handle everything when guess what? You can't. And until you realize that you need help from a higher power, I needed help from God. And I said, God, I need your help. I don't know what to do. I'm lost. But it took me 3 years of me being a complete fuck up to finally figure that out. And I was willing to be humbled. And yeah, my ego was put in check, which it needed to be. So, and I said, Dave, I think Dave reiterated that quite a bit. So
yeah,
that
had to have been eating at you a little bit though, man, because I've known you since the very beginning of, not the beginning of your life, but the beginning with 13 Hours and all that.
Yeah.
You were always, at least outwardly and publicly, a Christian, a believer in faith, a guy who always wore, a cross around your neck. So even during that time, right?
Well, and that was where I was. It was still there. That was what was my little base. It kept eroding a little more. And I knew, I tell people out there, what you're doing wrong. When I speak to veterans or I speak to law enforcement, I tell them right up front, I know you guys know what you're doing wrong. You know what's wrong. Don't use the guys that, well, I'm a protector, or, well, I'm willing to give my life for another person. Well, I'm out here on the front lines. That allows you leeway to sin. It doesn't at all. That's what I used to think. It's like, man, well, I'm out here risking my life for people in this country. I'm willing to give my life to protect people in this country. So God should give me a little leeway on this sin. No, doesn't work like that. So, but that was it wasn't that I wasn't a Christian. It wasn't that I wasn't a believer in Christ. It's just that I wasn't as good as I should have been. And I was figuring it out. And God has had his faith in me. So it was good to have that. If I didn't have any of that, dude, I wouldn't be talking to you right now. I'd have put a bullet in my head, or I would have done something that would have got me killed, and I'd have been done. But the God and faith, and having that faith that I had when I was a kid, and my mom and dad ingrained in me, that's what kept me kept me going. And during that time frame that, when I first met you, I tell you, I'm a Christian. I'm just the worst Christian in the world. And I was just trying to figure it out and trying to realize that, well, I can't do it all on my own. And eventually it just had to take where everything just completely crashed. That building all came down to me figuring out, okay, you're right. I was wrong. I admit it wrong. I need your help to get this fixed. And to do that, he basically had, like Dave said, he had to nuke me. Boom, done. We got to clean all that off, start over. And I kept the good things from in the past, the good things of, when I was on deployments, the things I learned overseas. I didn't forget any of that. It's the bad things of breaking and I'll tell people right now, I've broken every commandment. I'm not lying. That's not a figure of speech. Every commandment that is said in the Bible, I have broken every one of them. And it was me coming back and realizing, looking at them going, man, I've broken everything on here. I've got to change my ways. And that's it, dude. So yeah, it was hard because you do feel a little bit of a hypocrite because you're preaching, and I think there's a lot, and I think you can agree with me. And actually, we talked about it on one show, maybe it was Truth Seeker's show before it came on, where there are many people out there that say they're making money off the Lord's name that are complete hypocrites, and they never fix themselves. And I was like, man, and I knew it. I was like, man, I'm a hypocrite. I am a hypocrite, but I got to keep preaching. I got to keep saying things because maybe these words are going to help someone else. But while I was also saying those words, it was helping me. It really was.
I think it goes back to all of us. I think a lot of the times what we all preach is what we need to hear.
We need to hear, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because when you see people, I think, posting a lot of inspirational stuff on social media, it's something they need to hear. I totally have realized that. I've taken a break from all that stuff. Just as I know, I totally get it why you got off Twitter and all that and realized that fame is not that important. And you know what? I actually heard, because I'm a fan of his, I feel like I bring him up a lot on the podcast, but Frank from Amura, I brought him up before, but I listened to all his stuff because before I even met him, I was a fan of what he did. But he said in a recent interview, not on the one I did, where he was saying like fame nowadays, like more than ever, is just so cheap. He's like, I remember when you became famous because you did something that people respected. They liked what you did. He's like, now you literally lick a toilet bowl and you become viral.
And that's influencer. Believe me, that's not a God's term at all. You're an influencer now. Fucking A. Give me a fucking break. He said, I can't add to it because he's nailed it right on the head. And that's what I felt like, man. This is fame. There's no fame in this. There's some notoriety. Maybe being infamous is a better word for it. But this is stupid. This is ridiculous, and it's making me a worse person. And then you have to feed that ego with that freaking media bullshit, social media influencer bullshit, which makes you a worse person. And you just go down that slippery slope. So, bro, what Frankie said is spot on, man. And it's fame or being infamous, and I'm not famous. I'm not. People may know who I am, but every once in a while. But I'm not famous by any means. I don't want to be. I'm just Chris, man. That's it. And Tano wasn't my alter ego when I came back from Benghazi. I was called Tano when I first started working. So that was a name that I am Tano too. But it's not like Tano from. That's your stage name. It's just that's what people always called me, even before 7 years before Benghazi even happened. So. But I did. It became an addictive drug where you want that attention, and that's pride again, false pride. That's your ego that you just talked about, and now your God is Instagram and Facebook and people watching you on Facebook and people seeing what you're doing and liking your stuff, and you're not your real God. You've pushed aside. You know that show American Gods that Pablo Schreiber is on? I
have not seen it.
Dude, if you want, honestly, that's really what that show is. It's talking about how the new gods, internet and social media are replacing the old gods of, the old gods that we used to have, which is God and the devil and so forth. But the bottom line is they're battling for control of our souls and so forth. But I honestly believe there's some truth in that, man.
Oh yeah,
because it was with me.
There definitely is. I've had to purge in my own life, not the way you did, but I'll have to get off social media because I do realize sometimes, like, you want to constantly be checking that
Yeah.
phone. I do the same thing as you did. You know, both of us are away from our phone for a few hours a day, and it's best, man. Like all of this stuff, it's designed to be addicting. It is designed to become your god.
And you become full of yourself, and you lose your way. And man, this hibbity bibbity virus, there was a reason for it, and I think that was a huge reason for people to. It gives people the chance to step back and remember their faith, but there's still a lot. It also gives people also, because you have so much more downtime, to even delve in more into the bad stuff, which is the social media, because you got nothing else to do. So, but it's a reset. It was a reset, and I'm saying was because I do think and there are always going to be different strains and all that. I'm not going to get into that. You and I, we don't need to talk about that shit right now. but I really do believe that, you know, that it was a reset at the time to allow people to, okay, guys, this is your chance. And I'm saying God made the virus. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying, and maybe he did. I don't know. But what I'm saying is that it was a chance for everybody to reset, take a step back. And we talked about this when it first happened. I think we talked about it very positively, that this is a chance for you to get back to family, faith, and fitness. Kind of what Dave said. Dave said too when he reset himself. He said the exact same things. And that was your chance. And some people took that route, and I guarantee you they're happier now. Some people didn't. It didn't say that, okay, you're going to have to do it. It's like, here's your chance. God always gives you a chance. Here you go. Yep. Okay, I reset, even with me. Here you go. I reset you. Now, what are you going to do with it? You learn from your past, or you're not going to learn from your past? And it wasn't, he's just, okay, this is the route you're going to go, and I'm going to make sure that you do everything right. That's not how the Lord works. We have free will. It's like, here's your chance to refix yourself. Here's your opportunity. What choices are you going to make? Some people chose right, and I believe you did. I know I did, definitely. I was always already going down that path anyway, which from 4 years ago, or 3 years ago. But I know some people didn't. Some people went back to their old ways, and that's just how it goes, man. That's your decision. You have free will. That's the one thing God can't control is our free will, and it's what He gave. He gave that to us for the reason that you got to make your own decisions, but you've got to be well thought out decisions. Having this so-called influencer fame or the social media is not, to me is not a good route and a good decision to have, brother. And if we get no more listeners and my social media, you know, I'll eventually turn that damn thing off again because I don't really need it. If we lose, then we do. That's just how it goes. I'm not going to cry over it. We'll figure out something else to do. I don't think that's going to happen, but if it does, you and I, well, okay, well, we did it. It was a good run. Let's go do something else.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, and also this has made people realize that the only thing that is forever is, you know, God and family until you're not here. But, you know, you could have had a completely secure job, went the secure route your whole life, and it's all been taken away from you because of what's gone on this past month. So you might as well do what you're passionate about and really follow your dreams, because you only get one shot. With that, I'm going to wrap it up here. Fort Scott Munitions is a manufacturer of multi-federal patented solid copper and brass CNC spun ammunition. It's designed to tumble upon impact in soft tissue, leaving devastating wound channels for faster bleed out and quicker incapacitation. This ammunition was originally developed to innovate and improve on the standard of military-grade ammunition design. It was found that not only did the TUI ammunition outperform competitors in the self-defense industry, but it quickly became apparent that it would be a top contender for hunters alike. With the ammunition being CNC spun, the tolerances are some of the tightest on the market, ensuring they receive the same results with each pull of the trigger. Fort Scott Munitions is available throughout privately owned businesses in every state, as well as directly online through fortscottmunitions.com. Use exclusive promo code Battleline for 15% off your order. Only available to listeners of the Battleline Podcast. Fort Scott Munitions is a proud supporter of Chris Peranto, Battleline Tactical, and the Battleline Podcast. We love those guys. We have shirts available. Check those out. We'll have the link in the description. Love the shirts. Been wearing them on my runs when I'm working out. They really came out beautifully. So pick one of those up. And unless you have anything else, man, I think we're going to wrap up with Warrior Inside from Music on a Mission by Dave Bray. And I should say, man, if you guys like the song and you like Dave's stuff, order download the album legally or buy a CD on DaveBrayUSA.com. Even though the podcast is on Spotify, I have no problem saying don't just stream it on Spotify, guys, because especially right now, I can tell you from my friends in the music industry, man, the music industry is struggling right now. And Spotify pays those guys like fractions of a penny on each stream. And, the excuse a few months ago was, well, they're going to make up for that in touring and then merchandise sales when they hit the road. And right now there is no touring. So the only way artists are making money right now is if you're buying their music or you're buying their merchandise. So, if you stream it, it's cool, I guess, but you're not really supporting those guys financially. And if you get it online, throw the $10 to Dave so that he can keep doing what he does, because it's not free to record music and studio costs and all that good stuff.
Yeah, and Dave, he's got a family to take care of, and I know that's almost cliche to say that anymore with everybody, because everybody does, but it's the truth. And he works hard, and he self-publishes, he self-records, self-promotes. So help him out. It does, and he does good music. He's really good music, and obviously he's getting out there more, and you're seeing him more on different. If you're still watching the news, I don't.
Fox and Friends and all that, yeah.
But
he said himself he had to get rid of a ton of tour dates, and how is he going to make up for that? The only way he is if he's getting his voice on stuff like this, and you guys actually support him. That's just the truth. And
you should. He's a talented individual, and him being a veteran should be enough, but him also being multi-talented, and then his wife and his family are tremendous as well, and they do everything together. I think that's a huge reasons to get his music, and his music is awesome. So there you go. He's used to sing. When I used to do some speaking events, with Dave would open up with the Star Spangled Banner. He would open me up before I come on the stage. It was awesome, tremendous. He'd have a standing ovation before he even came on the stage because of him singing the Star Spangled Banner before. It was one of the best renditions ever. The only one that was probably better was Whitney Houston during the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, I'm being completely honest, and that one was awesome. But I'm putting Dave's right up there with Whitney Houston. I am. Right. It was like, wow, that was amazing in these crowds, in these little auditoriums. And so he's a patriot, and again, bottom line though is he's a great singer and a talented musician. So yeah, definitely do what he said. Get on there and buy his stuff, and I didn't know that Spotify you could just stream for free. So don't.
Well, you can. Yeah, and it's just all these. Well, we're having Phil Labonte on the podcast later this month, and Phil said it himself on Twitter. He's like, I get enough money from Spotify to like maybe buy a Spotify premium account. Wow. You know what I mean? Like they barely pay them. That's terrible. These tech companies are getting rich, but the artists that make the content aren't getting shit really.
That's terrible. Well, bro, you know better than what you said. I'm not going to reiterate anymore and ramble about it. Just don't get that shit off Spotify and stream it. You're just making people that already have a ton of money. You're already making them more money. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. So we're going to wrap up with this Warrior Inside off Music on a Mission from Dave Bray.
When I was a young man, I put up my right hand and I swore to defend this land with all that I had. Some of my best years washed away in blood and guts and tears. Probably drank 1,000 beers for those who can. But if I'm still breathing, then I'm still in this fight. Yeah, I was born to survive.
That's all for this episode of Battleline Podcast. But we have new shows up every Monday and Friday, so make sure you're subscribed. And keep up with the show 24/7 on Facebook and Instagram at Battleline Podcast. Also on Twitter at Battleline Pod. As always, never quit.